Okay, I have a couple of hours before I have to feed the cats, so let's do this. Me being me, rather than looking at all of these figures individually, we're going to look at them all as a group. As the name of the video implies, this is not, what was it? Generation Toy. This is not Generation Toy's Gravity Builder. This is the JinBao oversized knockoff of Gravity Builder. Pardon me. And I have had this set for I want to say a couple of years now. I actually had the Gravity Builder set, or the JinBao oversized knockoff, several years back, and then sold it and regretted selling it. Really wanted it back, got it back, and then I decided I was going to make a massive custom project out of it, and I ended up doing kind of like a weathering thing, which we'll get into more when we look at the figures in more detail soon. But essentially, through pacing and the fact that it was just a long process, it took me, I want to say, like 6 months or more. Not like working daily or anything like that, but like roughly 6 months from start to finish to customize all 6 of these figures. And then I got the repro labels set that Toy Hacks put out a little while after I finished my custom, and was like, I'm gonna get that and put that on. So this is, as I said, this is the JinBao oversized knockoff of Generation Toy Gravity Builder after being custom painted and stuck with repro labels. So there's a lot going on with this. But I wanted to talk about it because this is a set I've been meaning to talk about for a very long time, and I keep putting it off, and I'm really running out of stuff I haven't talked about yet in the collection, so I figure I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do all 6 figures in one go. I'm going to probably breeze through it pretty quickly, so I'm sorry I'm not going to go into as much detail as I usually do, but I'm still going to do the transformations and all that stuff. Now, before we start looking at the individual figures, we'll do size comparisons because they're all in a group. So there we've got Dinobot and Overprime, our Tall Voyager and Tall Deluxe respectively. There is Burnout, there is Samus. So there is how big all these vehicles are in comparison to other more contemporary things, and these are quite big. I want to say they're almost Tobot size, like the vehicles. And, of course, whoop, forgot I left Burnout there. But yeah, there you can see, compared to a modern deluxe, they're big. And there they all are with the duck tank. Okay, so I don't remember all of the Gravity Builder names for these figures. I think it was Scraper, Mixing Truck, I think just like Dump Truck, Crane, Navi for some reason, and Bulldozer. I'm just going to go by their Transformer names. So Scrapper, Mixmaster, Long Haul, Hook, Scavenger, and Bonecrusher. And I think I'm just going to look at them all in this order. So, I mean, as a group, they all look good together. They all have the same kind of green and purple and dark gray and silver in places and stuff, so it all is cohesive because, you know, Constructicons. The Generation Toy aesthetic, which affects the, the oversized knockoffs as well, is interesting. It's much more greebly, definitely more stylized than the G1 look, and I'm totally cool with that. I actually really like what they did with these figures. It's not as drastic as, I forget the company that makes it, but there's that other Constructicon set that's coming out where, like, Scrapper's bucket becomes his feet, which is really, like, that's an interesting thing. I'm kind of burned out on Constructicons, so I don't know if I'm going to go in for that one, but still, I like when they do different things, and this definitely does different things. But they are still identifiable as what they are. They're the same, thematically the same vehicles, just stylistically different. But here we go. Here is Scrapper. The bucket goes up and down. It's actually jointed and ratcheted in several places. Like, you can actually ratchet it up and down here. It's very solid ratchets too, as you can see. Perhaps a little too solid. And I need to push this back into place. Oh, and this all came undone. Oh, darn it. There we go. So yeah. Scrapper! Now the customizing that I did, I actually went over the silver with like a gunmetal. I went over the green with a darker green, and I went over the purple with black. And essentially what I did was I took paint and went into the cracks, let it sit for a few seconds, and then haphazardly wiped it off because I wanted it to have more of like a weathered look. And you can really kind of tell what I was talking about, like inside Scrapper's bucket and like up here. But I essentially went for just like a quick and dirty dirtying for all of these, and a little bit more, which we'll see in robot mode. But yeah, I actually like this a lot. I didn't want to do like a uniform, you know, actual make it look like dirt kind of thing. I just wanted to pick colors that are essentially, except for the purple, I wanted to pick colors that are like darker tones, kind of like the color plastic that they're on. And I think this looks pretty cool, the way the weathering turned out. I'm gonna zoom in just a little bit to kind of show some of it off in closer detail. And yeah, I don't know, I like it. I feel like when you zoom out and look at it for like one big thing, I think it looks good. And then of course, you also have the repro labels, like the bars on the sides of the bucket and above the wheels and stuff like that along the sides here, some stuff going on at the top here, even like a little dot on the exhaust and the little taillights. So yeah, I think the added details look nice. And Mixmaster, it's pretty much the same deal, or it's the exact same deal. I did the same thing with the weathering. As I'm looking at it, I actually neglected to do the drum for the cement mixer. And that's going to bug me until I eventually address it, but that's not going to happen right now. But yeah, I did the same thing, the green on green, the gunmetal on silver, black on purple. And again, big old mixing truck, cement mixer, whatever, covered in repro labels. Well, not covered, but they're on there. And I feel like the repro labels for these different characters, the different figures, are a little bit sparse per figure, but like you're getting it as like a whole set. So I kind of understand that, and also I feel like the addition of the paint, that's the word I'm looking for, kind of helps too. So like instead of just getting like the stickers and the paint. And Long Haul is dump truck and looks nice and is just, again, same paint scheme, same thing with the stickers. I really do think the caution stripes add a fair bit to all of these. And for anyone wondering, I made a separate video about this, but these ladders come separate. They look like this, and they come in the box with no explanation whatsoever. And yeah, these are just Long Haul's ladders, and there's just this little zoom in here a little bit. There's this little groove, this lower misshapen groove here that you can see how that kind of matches up. And that's where these peg into. So you just peg the ladders, that actually on camera, you just peg the ladders in, and that's where they go. So if you ever get this set and you're not entirely sure what those weird extra pieces are, the ladders, that's where you plug them in. Just there and there. And that is Long Haul. And Hook, again, same deal. Hook, I feel like, is probably the least interesting vehicle just because it's basically a big plank with a crane on top. But just for what it is, it's fine. In terms of like functionality, Scrapper's bucket moves, Mixmaster's drum does not rotate or anything like that. Long Haul's bed does not move, but Hook's crane does move, goes up and down, and it does extend. Can't remember if there's a second. No, there's not a second extension. Also, it does this for some reason. You can like look into it, I guess. I don't know if this is supposed to be something, but that happens. But yeah, the hook does extend and it can rotate. So you've got some posability there, which is cool. But yeah, it doesn't really do much else. Oh wait, no, the whole reason I brought it up is because you actually have these little bits that serve zero purpose in the, or at least not official purpose, in the robot or combined mode, but you've got little support struts that come out for when the crane is in use, which doesn't act like they don't actually do anything. They don't even really like touch the the ground, but that's kind of neat. And I do actually like to do something with them for the robot mode, which we will see. And now, Scavenger. Again, no real motion on Scavenger, but the arm can rotate side to side. You can extend the bucket out that far. This is as far back as it goes, but it can ratchet forward. And this can move, and you got the little piston moving, and even up here, this moves and has like little piston action, so that's cool. Doesn't rotate, but it is what it is. And now both Scrapper and Bonecrusher have, or not Scrapper, Scavenger and Bonecrusher have these little trailer things that you can attach to them. You don't have to have them on there, but you can, and these can stay on for the robot mode as well. I'm going to take them off now, but I wanted to show them on both of them that you can do this. And you can keep them on going into the robot mode. You can keep them on going into the combined mode. Well, you need them for the combined mode, but for now, we're just going to remove this. And the way this works is this little gray square piece here, you just rotate that. Like this whole thing rotates and pulls out. And pulls out. There we go. So there's this like keyed thing here and this bit here. So you just put it on, rotate it, and it kind of sort of locks in place. But it does also telescope in. And now I'm going to just put this back. Get this back in place. And tab all this back in. Come on. Why are you... What's going on here? Getting stuck on the robot head? Is that what's happening? I think that's what's happening. Okay. Come on, tab in. There we go. Robots in disguise. Alright. Then just gonna... I like to rotate these back and push this down just to kind of cover things up a little bit back here. Yeah, there is Scavenger. Oh, this stuff all came untabbed. That, I think, is more me not noticing that it came untabbed before when I was dealing with, like, deconstructing everything. Now, these bits that are obviously going to become the forearms for the robot mode, or the combined mode, they're, like, the repro label set gives them like windows, so they become like tiny little transport vehicles and can work independently, which is cute. It's cute. But yeah, this is just gonna go off to the side. And Bonecrusher. Shock of all shocks, but this is my favorite of the group in terms of aesthetics, in terms of transformation. But he is a bulldozer, and he is treated in the same way as all of the others. You don't really get any purple on him like you do with the others. There is some, but it's like hidden. But yeah, looks good. I like the repro labels adding the giant Decepticon logo with the caution stripes in the the whatever. This front I don't know what that's called on a bulldozer, but I like that. It's unfortunate that the green doesn't match. I don't necessarily think it would match much better if I hadn't customized this paint, because the tones do look pretty drastically different. But there is all of that, and he also has his own little caboose thing here that can, once again, just twist off and pull off. Much easier to do on Bonecrusher versus versus Scavenger. Though this thing does just kind of sit. I guess if you really wanted to, you could bring this out fold this down and kind of, maybe like tuck this back in like this. Yeah, I guess that works. So you can kind of hide the that thing away a little bit. But there he is. He is a bulldozer, and he looks good. And as I said, I like the customization that I did on this. He also has the stickers that turn this into a little vehicle. Main thing that sets them apart, aside from the hand inside being a right hand and a left hand, is green windows on Scavenger's thing, purple windows on Bonecrusher's thing, though they're interchangeable like in the sticker set, so you could do either on either. I was just following the instructions, but like they're the same, so you could put them on either one. Now, let us transform all of this stuff. And we're going to start with Scrapper, and I'm going to try and go through this as quickly and smoothly as I can, which means it's probably going to be a mess. So, first thing, I'm going to just get the bucket kind of up and out of the way. I'm going to take these little ladders, fold those up on either side, and then unplug them, and just kind of swing this up for now. Then these side pieces will unplug. There's this big tab that goes into this big porthole there. And these can just unplug and sit like that. Now, going to come to the bottom here and untab these sections, and they kind of swing out. And these actually are tabbed into the gun, and that helps to hold the gun in place, because the gun, like, it sits in here, but it doesn't really peg in. These are what actually hold it in place. But there's a little section here and a little section here. There's a big tab here, a little tab back here, and this just sits like that, and then you plug the bits in for the heels and whatnot. But anyway, Scrapper's gun, which he can barely hold. And now, I'm going to take this side panel here and unplug it. It actually plugs in to this big porthole right in there. And unplug. Unplug, there we go. And now, I also want to take this piece back here and unpeg that and just have it sit like that, because this entire assembly now rotates 180 degrees. And actually, before we do that, we want to take this bumper section and accordion it up on this double hinge so that it sits like that. Now this can swing around 180 degrees. And with this swung around, these now come back in, and these will plug in here. And they don't hold in super great. They hold in better after the paint job, but these are not like super secure connections. And now with that done, I'm going to get the, whoops. Yeah, this is a problem with this. I don't know if it was a problem with the Generation Toy version, but these hip skirts love to pop off because they aren't, like, it's not a tolerance thing, it's a clearance thing. They bump into the waist section up here, and I feel like that's probably a design flaw, not this being a knockoff, but I could be wrong. Anyway, the hips swing forward, and then these joints swing back. And these will swing all the way back and clip in to make the thighs. Now we can bring the knees forward, take these flaps and fold them back, fold down a little pipe there, and now the feet will just kind of swing down and swing into place, and then we can split the legs, bring them out a click, and we are good to go with the legs. Arms are pretty simple too. Just want to take the ladder, rotate it around 180 degrees, and also rotate this around while we're doing it, and then this will swing in and plug in here. This swings back, and I want to unclip this panel, which is really in there. So I'm going to call upon my spudger. This will, there we go. You know, we're not doing anything with this joint just yet, but this opens up, and basically, I believe the original version, this could fold back more. This was like a double hinge. This one doesn't do that. But what I find works is you can hinge this back and kind of hook the the little bar thing in there, and it bulks out the forearm a bit, but it also holds the flap in place. If you want to, you can also just do this and leave it like that. And in the, I believe the original design, also you're supposed to swing it around and have it kind of sit like this. But that's horrible because it gets in the way of the elbow. So we're going around to the back, and we'll just do this because it's a little bit cleaner. And now the hand, there's a, now it's on this side. Yeah, this side. There is a little track that you can kind of see the fist moving on. This little slider, you're not really going to have much. I guess you can click it in place that way, but I find it's usually easier to just grab the fist and pull. But that is one hand out. And now for the last bit for the arm, you want to unplug this section so that we can take the wheel and unplug it from here, double hinge it back, and then plug it in back here. And this is purely an aesthetic thing, but you do that, and then this just sits up against the wheel back there. And that gets the wheel kind of further back for the sake of the robot mode. And now we do the same thing on this side. So rotate that around, plug it in, open, there's the spudger. Open this, swing it around, swing this around, get that hand out, and click it into place. Pull this out, accordion back the wheel, push that back in. And that is it for Scrapper's body. Last thing to do for the head, you just pull that panel out and flip up the head. And there we have Scrapper. Actually, I'm gonna, there we go. Just reorient that bucket. But yeah, there we have Scrapper. And going to give him his gun, and it is going to not be held well, but it's gonna be in his hand. So there's Scrapper. We'll look at him in a few minutes, or probably more than a few minutes, because I've got 5 more of these to transform. So you stand back there. Mixmaster now. For Mixmaster, he is a little bit more complex. So to unpeg the gun, just pegs in right there. Unpeg this. Extend the barrel. Now, going to pull this forward a bit to untab this section here. It just tabs in right behind the wheel. So untap that, and this swings down. And we won't tab that in just yet. But you do want to unplug this, unplug it, and then swing it down. I probably should have untabbed this too, because this actually, these little slots here actually go over these tabs here. So I should have done that first, but that comes up, and that just sits like that. For the legs, going to tilt this up. Nope. With this tilted up, we can pull that up, swing out what will become the feet, and swing them around 180 degrees. Rotate the smokestacks 180 degrees. Bring these back up. Now, we can disconnect the bumper. You actually, it's like a T-shaped thing. Hard to see, but it's like a little T-shaped connector in there. So you actually want to go like this down, this up, like that, to separate it. Because there you can see it's a T-tab, and that will definitely break if you try to pull it straight out. So do that. Bring these out. Now, these bumper sections, they kind of unclip from here, these little pieces here, and then this comes down and sits like that. This will rotate. I actually want to take this purple thing, bring that up. This will come out, and you can kind of straighten out the knee, because you want this little gray tab section here up, so that you can then take this piece and fold out this flap fold this down, and this will tab in right here, and this will come down and sit like that. And now this can come back, and this little hook piece will kind of sit on top of that gray panel. And that helps to keep the knee from folding back. Problem is, it's kind of like it doesn't really do much this way, but it's manageable. And then this can swing off to the side and come down. This one, presumably because it's a KO, the little flap thing is actually backwards. This part is supposed to be facing forward, but it was put on backwards. So this is supposed to be on this side, and this one's supposed to be on this side. It is what it is. I just haven't cared enough to try and fix it. I may eventually someday. Anyway, lastly, you want to rotate this piece out to act as a heel. And that's one leg. That is not one leg. I forgot to do the wheel here. You want to untab this. Kind of pegs in right up here, and then this just swings down to kind of, I guess, clean up the leg a little bit. I don't know. It also gets it out of the way for the combine mode. So yeah, there is one leg, other leg, same deal. Bring this out and down. Bring down the wheel, because I don't want to forget to do that this time. Rotate out the heel. Bring this up. Pull this out, bring this in and peg it in. Bring that down. There we go. And also this untabs and swings around. And there we've got legs for Mixmaster. And this guy, I've tried tightening these and they're just, I just need to, I don't know, I need to figure something else out because my attempt to tighten them has not tightened them enough. Anyway, we'll worry about that later. So now I'm going to unpeg, it's forearms here. You want to unpeg these. No, it's not those. You want to unpeg these. These little wheel flaps unpeg here, and that allows you to kind of bring the forearms up a little bit. So this untabs, this comes up. Now this slides out and rotates down. Same deal here. This whole thing slides out and kind of clicks in place, rotates down. These flaps on either side of the head fold down to kind of fill in the shoulders. This folds up and tabs in over the chest. And then for the arms, we'll just bring those flaps out a bit, and then this rotates down and clips in. Then rotate the biceps, rotate the wrists, and this comes around and kind of, I thought this tabbed in. I guess it doesn't. I could have sworn this tabbed in, but I don't see any tabs. So this just sits against the wheels like that. And there is one arm. The other arm is the same deal. This comes up, this comes down and plugs in. This rotates, the wrist rotates, and there we go. And gun, hand. Also, he doesn't hold it super well. Just, it's all like friction on the handle, and it is not enough. But anyway, there's Mixmaster. We will look at him in more detail in a few more minutes. Also, if you want to, you can take this and push this forward. But yeah, there is Mixmaster. Long haul. Even doing it this way, this video is going to take forever. Long haul. Okay, you want to untab these engines from the side. And kind of bring the arms out a bit. Untab these flaps and bring those all the way back. And take these bits here. You want to fold those around and then rotate them so that the fists are oriented properly. The engines rotate 180 degrees, and then this little piece folds in just to kind of clean up the arm. And now this piece, much like Mixmaster, slides out, and it is sticky. It was sticky before, it's sticky now. But this piece here, this gray piece, pops out. There we go. And I'm doing it here because I don't want to pull on this joint and risk damaging it, but this whole thing unclips and slides out. And same deal here. Bring that in, rotate it, rotate the engine, pull that in, and then yank this out. And I'm just going to pull that back down. Now this piece rotates forward and kind of clicks into place. The shoulder pieces here, you rotate them up, and there's this little, like you can kind of see it, this gray flap that the shoulder is rotating on. There are these little peg holes that peg into these holes on the side of what will become the torso. And those peg in, and that then gives you access to the proper shoulder rotation. And much like Scrapper, you want to take the wheel and unplug it, rotate it around, and plug it into plug it further back. And this thing does not want to cooperate. There we go. So there we go. That came unplugged, but that's my fault. And there is one arm. Same deal here, just rotate this up, plug it in, and then butts with the wheel. There we go. And there we go. There is long haul's arms. These can just stay like this. These little pieces here, I believe this is intentional for the robot mode. You take these pieces and fold them back to kind of fill in the back. But there is that. This rotates up. And for some reason, this tabs, like, this can be untabbed. I don't really get why this happens. It doesn't make sense to me, but whatever. But this can sit back to take... Actually, no, we'll leave this for now and just do the legs. So to untab the legs, and the gun is tabbed in there, so untap the legs. You want the gun kind of like this, and this piece has little tabs on it that sit inside here just behind these pegs. But there's the gun. You want to pull this peg in, and then I believe we leave that for now because we want to take this wheel and kind of fold it back a little bit so that we can rotate the leg all the way down. Now, the wheel folds in, and it kind of tucks into this cavity. Now this folds around and pegs in, and that kind of keeps this from coming back out. This panel rotates 180 degrees, and that just sits like that. And then you open this up and bring this down to give him his foot. And that is Long Haul's foot. Now, I have his hips like this because I keep this set in combine mode most of the time, just because shelf space. But if you want, you can rotate all of this. Keep this on camera. You can rotate this whole thing 180 degrees. I guess we'll do it this way. Oh, that ratchet is very stiff. I don't pose this set often. There we go. But yeah, you can rotate the hips so that the screw holes are pointed back, and you can do that for either Devastator or Long Haul. This is the Long Haul orientation. This is the Devastator orientation because this becomes the front of Devastator when you're transformed. But for the sake of the rest of this video, I'm just gonna leave the... Oh, that ratchet. I'm just gonna leave the hips oriented this way. because I don't feel like rotating both of them back for Devastator. But just know that if you don't like having the screw hole facing forward, you don't have to have it facing forward. Now, bring this around. Rotate the wheel so that it sits inside that cavity. Swing this in. Bring this up. Bring this down. There, we've got legs. Bring down the arms. And yeah, you can kind of see his... he does kind of lean... Well, I guess he doesn't lean back, actually. He's more straight than I thought. But his hips, I don't know, they kind of sit out a little far for my liking, but I guess it's not too bad. It felt worse for some reason. Anyway, the head is kind of interesting. It's very simple, but very clever. You just pull this up, rotate the head in and tab it into place here, bring this back down, and rotate the head around. And there we've got long haul. I need to tighten that, but there is long haul. You can fold this up over his head, fold it back. You got options. For now, I'm just gonna kind of leave it back like this, because why not? And then the gun, this handle folds down, this piece folds back, this rotates around, and the barrel extends. And there's Long Haul's gun. And we'll just peg this into, not even peg, we'll sit this into his hand, where it barely stays in place. But again, this is a problem with like all of the, like even the not official, but even like the original Gravity Builder toys didn't like to hang on to their guns. It was like a very specific thing that all of them had a problem with. All right, let's bring this up a bit because these guys are getting taller. And scoot you all off to the side and work on hook. Bring this up just to get it out of the way. And we'll start at the bottom, or the front. So we want to open up this cockpit section and remove the gun. I love the gun storage on this. And now you want to fold this window in, fold this window in, fold this in, and this all just comes down and kind of rests like this. And that compacts that section for the robot mode. I want to untab this piece here, this little T-tab that just flips up. And then you can take these wheels and untab them from what will become the feet. Swing the feet up, untab the feet, swing the feet up, and then swing them off to the side just to get them out of the way. We'll unplug these pieces. These kind of unplug from the front and swing out and down. I'm going to do this. Yeah. Let's rotate it like that. This can now swing down. And what I prefer to do is take this piece and swing it. It's on this separate rotational joint here. I prefer to swing it to the side and then accordion hinge it up, so this kind of becomes akin to like side skirt armor. That's what I like to do. You can also rotate around to the back, but then it kind of gets in the way of the knees, and I don't know. You can also bring it down kind of onto the side here, but I don't think that looks very good. And you can rotate it this way if you want, but yeah, this is how I prefer to do that. Bring that out. And now, swing this around. This piece swings down to just fill in the leg a little bit. The wheel swings in. This swings in. The foot rotates and swings in like that, and then the heel swings out. It is not as complicated as it looks, but it gets a lot done. And now again, going to unplug this. Unplug this. Come on, unplug. We're using so much time. There we go. Unplug this. Swing this whole thing down. And swing this out to the side and rotate it like that. Now this piece is a little flimsy, but what you can actually do, actually, you can't do it yet. What you got to do is rotate this piece around like that. And now you can take this whole thing and rotate it so that now this piece is oriented with the cockpit flaps like more gravity friendly, and then this little tab folds in like that. I don't know, this is a simple thing, but I like that it does that. And now again, from this angle, wheel folds in, foot folds down and in, and then this rotates around and the heel rotates out. And there we've got legs. Legs for hook. Okay. And then, there's so much going on with this. Okay. This entire back section here kind of unplugs and rotates around. We will get back to this. But this kind of unplugs and rotates around. This back section splits and then hinges down and into place on multiple hinges, like so. And now we want to take, there's this little hidden flap in here, right in here. You want to flip this out. You don't have to, but it is part of the transformation. So flip that out, swing this around and slide it up. And then this little peg here, right here, will peg in right here, which doesn't hold this in place super well, but it does help to keep this from moving around too much. And then you want to untab the gray piece from the back here, rotate this up, and now this flap will peg in right here to help keep that in place. So there's all that. Then you can rotate this around, bring this up. Whoa! I think you all saw that. That wasn't good. Bring this up. And we'll just leave that up for now. These little ladder pieces, I just flip them back like that to get them out of the way. You can kind of orient them however you want. I just prefer to do that. So, there we go. Now for the arms, want to untab this flap from the forearm and then swing the forearm down. And then this flap can rotate. And we'll zoom back out a little bit. So now the arm rotates the rest of the way down. Then on the back here, there are these little bits that you open up and pull out. And they just kind of close off the shoulder, which, I don't know, I like. And now the thing I was talking about before that I like to do with these pieces, I bring them out and just kind of leave them kind of like this, just to kind of bulk this out a little bit. You don't have to do it, but it's a thing I do. And then for the hand, you just open the flap, flip the hand around, and then put the flap back in place. There we go. And then you can orient this however you want. Let's zoom this back out. There we go. Again, untab this, bring this down, and we'll just do the hand now. So bring that out of the way, get that up, close that off, bring that down, swing this down, and then, as I said, my thing is I like to open this up and kind of orient that. And then take this little flap thing, bring that up, and use that to fill in the shoulder. And finally, I want to take the robot mode head, swing that up into place, and then take this flap, and this little gray piece tabs in down here. So untab it, bring that up and into place, and then use the multiple hinges here to kind of get this chest piece properly oriented, and just kind of tuck that into place. And you can even use the extra hinges that you probably saw during transformation to angle the hook. So you can kind of, I don't know, you can do some kind of cool stuff with Hook's hook. So that is hook. And again, the hips kind of, we'll bring them back a click because I think that'll help with stability. Yeah, this works for now. And oh, actually, forgot about his gun. For his gun, just flip down the handle, extend the barrel. There you go. And again, this will go into his hand, and he doesn't hold it well, because none of them hold their guns well, but whatever. Funny thing is, I did actually get this set, and always loved this set, because of the individual robot modes. It's just that they just don't hold their guns well. Alright, Scavenger. Angle this back down a little bit. Scavenger. This guy, I want to take this little gray flap here and just fold that up and out of the way a little bit. To unplug these pieces, and they do lock together in a specific way. So like this panel here comes up and swings around, and this one swings around. These pieces, they actually tab into the treads here, so untab those and swing them up. Untab and swing up. And then from here, no, let's stick with what we were doing, do the lower body first. So you want to unpeg the treads. There's this, it's hard to see, but there's this little purple tab that sits into that green cylinder, so untab that. And now this whole thing rotates around. And again, untab it, rotate it around. Now these double hinge together and peg together, which is a little, there we go. That pegs together. We can use this opportunity to remove the gun. Very difficult to peg in place when he's when he is in vehicle mode. Now this swings up and kind of tabs into place. This panel, you want to bring it up on this hinge and then bring this in. And essentially what happens is this goes up into this cavity here, and you just push, and that will kind of, you know, friction and physics will get all this into place, and this acts as a brace to keep this from coming undone. Now for the legs, the rest of the way, you want to untab this flap, untab this flap. This will swing around. Oh, also, there's a smaller, I keep forgetting about this, is the smaller flap here that comes out. So those two come out, rotate around to the back, and this can kind of come back up, for now at least. This piece here rotates, and then you take this circular piece, bring it down, and there's this little gray piece in here you want to bring up, and that will tab into this little hole here and brace this piece against here, and that acts as a heel, and then this comes down, just kind of sits like that. And there you've got a heel and a toe on one side. Same deal here. We'll do the foot first. Now we're going to bring this down, swing this piece up, and tab it in there. Rotate this 90 degrees. Bring this flap up, bring this flap down, bring this flap down, and then swing this around to the back. I thought this pegged in up here, but it looks like it doesn't. So, oh well. Now for this, you can leave it up like this, or you can swing it down like this. I prefer to just do that to give the knees a little bit more freedom. But there we go. There are the legs. He stands pretty well. This piece comes down and swings. No, actually, we want to keep this up. Forgot about that because it's been a minute. Because this section up here, the top part of the vehicle, actually rotates around 180 degrees. And then this can come down and kind of tuck in. It's not the best how this works, but that can come down. Now this can come down. This little piece here you can bring out, bring it in, fold it in. This comes around, and this piece just kind of goes over that flap, and this will bend in a bit. It doesn't, like this, and I think the original, this bends in more effectively. It does not so much here. But do that, and then this opens up, flip the fist around, much like with hook, back in, and there is one arm done. Very easy. Just now noticing he has a double jointed elbow. That's, weird. Anyway, that's one arm. The other arm is pretty much the same story. It's just shaped a little differently because Scavenger. But this flap comes out, this swings in, comes around and comes back down. Then this opens up and you swing fist out, bring it back in. There we go. And then for the head, just bring the head up, and then this piece, it's on a bit of a slider. You want to rotate it back and then slide it back so that this plugs into the plate that the neck sits on. And there we go. There's Scavenger. Give him his gun. And what I prefer to do with this guy is actually kind of rotate the shovel to the side a little bit, just so that he's not like this. So I just do that. And I'll do this side. So anyway, there is Scavenger, and we'll give him his gun, and his gun actually parts forms. You want to untab this silver piece, and then it just plugs in here. That's it. Very simple, but it's parts forming. And once again, into the hand that barely holds it. Though he does hold his better than a lot of these other figures. So yeah, there is Scavenger. And finally, my favorite, what I consider the best one, Bonecrusher. And Bonecrusher's his legs are almost identical to Scavenger, because that's usually how these things go. But to start, I'm going to flip these little pipe things up. I've seen people use them as like exhaust pipes. I think they're supposed to mimic the appearance of hydraulics, which is why I have them down here. But yeah, just do that. Take these little green struts and unpeg them from the sides of the shovel or whatever it is. And this can kind of go up to get out of the way. Now, I want to kind of get this out of the way so that we can take these the grill section, and that comes up. And we're just doing this to get it out of the way because we need the space down here for the legs. So I'm going to untab the legs, and just like well, actually, before we untab the legs, we're going to take this piece and rotate it down, and this will push these little silver pieces out. And they're like little missiles or something. But do that on both sides. Now, I'm going to untab the legs and rotate them around, just like on Scavenger, and also just like on Scavenger, these kind of accordion in and peg together. Also, gun. We'll get rid of the gun so that we can straighten this out. And this actually kind of clicks in place. I wish Scavenger did that, but he holds together. But anyway, that's torso in place. Now, to finish the legs, it's again same deal as Scavenger. So I'm going to bring this down, bring this up, and peg it in. Peg it in. Swing down the foot, rotate that 90 degrees, bring down this flap. And now this is a little different. You want to rotate this down to kind of get it out of the way. Or forward? Yeah, forward works better. And then get the same two flaps, little flap down, big flap up, rotate it around to the back, and then this just swings back up and into place. So there is one leg on Bonecrusher. Same deal on this side, get the flaps, get the big flap, rotate everything around, it's back up into place. Get what will become the heel down, peg that in, get the foot down into place, rotate this, bring that down, and there we go. For the, let's see, I don't think we have the clearance for that. Yeah, so instead we're going to split the bucket, or blade, whatever, split scoop. I don't know what this thing is called. Let's split it. And it does actually kind of hook. You can kind of see these are like hook tabs. So you want to hook those in. So you unplug this and then unhook it. These pieces, the grill, it disconnects, but it also plugs in. Like you can see tabs here and plugs there. So you don't want to pull it this way. You want to do this, and then you can separate it. With that disconnected, you can now split the arms, and these come around and plug in here. And they hold, like, they're not super solid, but they work surprisingly well with not coming undone. And then just get the arms kind of out of the way. There we go. Also, like with Scavenger, the upper torso rotates 180 degrees. And now for the rest of the arms, I want to untab this green flap so that we can hinge out the arm. Close that back up, rotate the grill around and bring it down. Rotate bicep, open up this flap, and bring out the fist, which does not want to come out. Try and push in from the other side. The spudger for this. Push from the other side. There we go. It's not stuck, it's just difficult to get a grip. And then this comes down, and there's actually a little tab on top of the hand here that tabs into the underside of the flap. So you want to make sure you hang on to the fist and get everything lined up before bringing that flap down. So there is forearm done, and now for this thing, what you want to do is first of all, I'm going to rotate it so that these little nubbins are facing this way so that they don't crash into anything on the side. I'm going to bring this up and kind of leave it like that. I'm going to bring this down, and this is it. This piece, yeah, this piece folds up. This, what I like to do is fold it around the other way and then bring this up kind of like this, and this just sits against the shoulder. It doesn't like do anything. It doesn't peg in anywhere. It just sits against the shoulder, but I actually really like that look. And then this can collapse down, and then this, I just fold forward like that. And that is one arm completely done. Second arm is the same deal. I forgot to fold this up for the vehicle mode. So yeah, for the vehicle mode, there's that exhaust pipe that's up, but fold it down, bring this up, because you have to untab it from the shoulder. It actually tabs in right here. Accordion this out, bring that back down, rotate this around, bring that back in, rotate this around, bring this out, bring out the hand. Again, like this normally isn't difficult. There we go. And then get that lined up and pegged in. There we go. Swing this around. This can rotate. This can rotate. This comes up. And then this comes down. This folds up and around. And collapses back down. And there we've got arms. And finally, for the head, this piece folds up so you can bring this whole assembly back, and there's like this little groove back here that you can hinge this back, and it just kind of sits back there. And this flap folds in, and this folds back down. And there is Bonecrusher, this version of Bonecrusher in robot mode. And for his gun, you just fold the barrel out, pull down the peg or the handle, and then again goes in hand, and he holds it, but it doesn't like to point forward. And there is they all take up a lot more space now. Yeah. Watermaster, long haul, hook. Yeah. Scavenger and Bonecrusher. I guess Bonecrusher can just kind of sit like that for now. And here we go. Here is the full Oversized Gravity Builder team. And again, they look great together. And again, they look very obviously Constructicon. It's a really cool set, and I did actually want this set specifically to have the individual robot modes. It's just that I don't have the physical space to display them in their robot modes all the time right now, so they stay in combined mode. But here they are, and they are all very cool. It's the same deal that I did with these in robot mode that I did with vehicle modes, where I did the green on green, black on purple, gunmetal on silver to add that kind of weathering effect. And I, again, think it looks pretty cool. I like how it came out. And also they have repro labels. And I think because this set is such a departure, I feel like going all out in like a custom, well, not all out, but like doing the custom, doing the repro labels, I think that all works really well. Now, once again, we will start by looking at Scrapper, and he looks really nice. I don't know. I like this set in its entirety. It's definitely a little finicky, but I like it. And it looks cool. Even like when you bring the arm out, you got this like venting detail on the underside here. That's neat. It is trigger happy shoulders, but I can't be that bothered by it. It's just the fact that they don't hold their guns well. That's what bugs me about this set. But there is some nice detail all over this thing. They even painted some stuff. Like this stuff was silver already. This stuff was silver. This stuff was like a darker gunmetal. Like that was all out of the box. And like the silver on the rims and stuff. So this is done well, and at a fraction of the price. Even now, the aftermarket Gravity Builder is like around $400 or $500. This set, when I got it, was like around, I want to say like $150, $160, which breaks down to not a whole lot of money per figure. So yeah, it's a nice aesthetic. It's still very much like reads as Scrapper, even though it's its own thing. And I think, again, the combination of the paint and the repro labels work. And the fact that I went intentionally messy with the paint means that I don't have to be annoyed when I see things that aren't like, you know, perfect. Like there's a little splotch in the little in his midriff there, and it's like, who cares? He's dirty. So yeah. Now the thing that I did with all of these figures, specifically for the robot mode, is I painted their visors because they have light piping, and it sucks. But I love how this looks, because what I ended up doing was I actually used pink as a base coat. I like opened up the heads and took out the light piping block, painted pink over the visors or the eyes as a base coat, let that dry, and then went over the pink with a metallic red. And I just really like how that looks. That's super cool. And Scrapper's head, it's stylized, but it still reads as Scrapper, you know, faceplate, visor, that kind of thing. And Scrapper's articulation is ball-jointed head, which doesn't really nod left and right very much, can go up and down a little bit, or down more if you use the transformation, and rotate. The shoulders can go out, but they do knock into the head at a certain point. They can rotate all the way around on a ratchet. The bucket kind of gets in the way, but they can rotate around, and also the bucket moves. If you want, there's this joint, but that's for the transformation or for the combination, so you don't really need to use that. There's a bicep swivel, elbows to 90, and then the wrists do swivel, but it's a little bit tricky to use because they, yeah. Something about the way that this is situated. The wrists just don't swivel very happily, and the fingers open and close. It also has a waist rotation. And if you want to, you can open up these little flaps on the side. This is for the combination, but you can open them up. There goes his gun that he doesn't hold. And you can... Oh, no, you can't. Okay, never mind. You can't do the side-to-side waist tilt because of the way that the transformation works. Let me grab that gun real quick. This is just going to stay off to the side because I don't like messing with that. Now for the legs, the hip skirts do like to pop off because the tops crash into this. So that's kind of not great. But you can kind of get them up a little bit, or you can just pop them off. And with them not in the way at all, the hips can go forward that far and go back that far. Put that back into place. And go out to 90. You can tell I don't use these joints that often. Get thigh rotation. And then about 90 degrees of knee bend. And the feet, they can rotate forward and back on this hinge, which is not tight enough. But, oh well. Like, it's a pin. I checked it before. I can't use a screwdriver. It's a pin. So I tried tightening it. It didn't really take. But for now, it'll have to do. And then you can also angle, you got severe ankle tilt in that direction, as well as this direction if you want. And you can also move the foot, like it's on this multi-hinge thing, so you can kind of curl the foot around and angle it down weird. Like, you've got different approaches you can take to the feet. So that is Scrapper. And he is cool, but he also is, like, his feet are the biggest problem for me because they just, like, even after tightening them, they don't like to stay in, like, he likes to lean back. And as I said, like, I tried to tighten those feet and they just do not want to cooperate. But, oh well. Alright, let's put this back in his hand and him over here. That's kind of still on camera. Mixmaster also looks great with the Rupert labels and the paint and all that. I love the blue that gets added here. And again, I painted the visor, same deal, and it also works for Mixmaster, and it's not too hard to get a hand in there to move the head around. And the head does go side to side better than Scrapper's. Can go up and down a bit, can rotate kind of. This is what's getting in the way, really. The arms can go all the way around and go out to just about 90, but this stuff's crashing. You've got this flap that can go out or rotate around on a ratchet for some reason, but there's that. Got bicep rotation, elbows that bend a little bit past 90, wrist rotation. Weirdly, it looks like there's a flap here that's supposed to open for the wrists to tuck in, but they don't, and you don't actually need to tuck the wrists in anywhere anyway. Then also the fingers can open and close, kind of. There's that gun that's probably going to pop off. The waist does rotate, though this is kind of banging into this, so that's kind of all you're going to get. But you can use this motion that's part of the combine mode. The hips go forward that far and back that far and out. Get this as out of the way as possible and go out not quite to 90. You get a thigh rotation. Now the knees are going to be a little bit on the tricky side because of how that whole thing works. But so you've got this thing that kind of locks back there, but then you do have this knee joint that you can bend, and that bends to more or less roughly 90. Problem is, straightening this out is annoying because this doesn't lock in anywhere. So you just kind of have to, like, hold this in place and straighten the knee that way. And I just don't really, yeah. Not my favorite thing. And the feet are on ball joints, so you can kind of wiggle them side to side, move up and down. There's also a hinge back here, so you can kind of shift them forward and back and move them up and down that way. And you can also rotate the heel. And you get tilt because ball joints. I definitely wish Mixmaster's feet were better because, oh boy, sometimes it is annoying to get him to stand up. As you can see, he kind of wants to fall forward a little bit. Let's bring this down. There we go. He kind of wants to fall forward a bit. And it doesn't take much for that to happen. Now, you can do a little bit more with this guy. Grab the spudger again and try and separate this out, because you can split the drum and these whole side sections, which I just accidentally pegged back together again. There we go. They actually slide out to the side. Slide. There we go. They slide out. They're on like a hinge and sliding system, but you can slide this out. And then once they're slid out, you can bring them back up and peg them together so that they sit further back. And by having them sit further back, you get... Oh, there we go. The problem was this was tilted to the side and making the waist not work. But with the tilted back, you get that full waist rotation. Also, you can do what I like to do, which is keeping this split apart and kind of off to the side, hinging this little piece back like it's a little jetpack thing, and just kind of having this sitting kind of like this. And then this piece can rotate back a little bit. And with that rotated back, you get free access to the head. Or another thing you can do, you get these kind of out of the way a little bit, you can bring this back, and there's a good way to do this. Think like this. And bring these out. Rotate this whole thing around. Like this can actually come all the way back, and it even rotates. So you can bring this back, and I've done this before, but I don't think it's going to cooperate right now. But I have kind of like rotated this around 180 degrees, but I think that's probably not the best idea because it's crashing against the mixing drum stuff. But you can bring it back so that it sits all the way out of the way. And now Mixmaster does not have anything in the way of his head. I swear I was at one point able to, maybe that's what it was. Bring this around. Yeah, there we go. And then fold it down like that. And this can just kind of tuck away like that. And that completely cleans up Mixmaster. Well, not completely, but it cleans him up pretty well. So now he's got the mixing drum all split open on his back, but it still isn't too bad. And it just kind of looks like a small-ish, mid-size-ish backpack. And now you've got like free access to the head. And I kind of like that. And I think this works well for Mixmaster in this set because the aesthetic of this set is already kind of doing its own thing. So there's that. Long haul looks really good. And unlike previous long hauls, he is not the biggest guy in the set. They're all kind of roughly the same size. But there he is, once again looking like a guy wearing a green onesie. He's got kind of the Mixmaster, not Mixmaster, the Motormaster color, not color scheme, but color layout, where it's like the arms are a different color than the bulk of the body. And I always thought that kind of color layout was interesting. But again, he looks great with the stickers and the paint and all that. I love the way the head comes together on this. He is a bit more kibbly than the others in many regards. And also, I just don't know the best thing to do with this. Like, I guess it can kind of sit like that. or like that, or like that. But like, there's no specific, other than this, there's nothing specific that like tabs in anywhere. So yeah, I just do that. But yeah, he's cool. Despite the transformation being a little weird and this being a knockoff, so the transformation being weird can kind of be a little bit of an issue at times, it comes together well, and he holds together surprisingly well for being a knockoff. Now, I did run into a problem with this long haul. It's not really the figure's fault, because Devastator's chest piece can be kind of like a gun. And I foolishly tried, for some reason it's foolish, to plug this into his hand. And that was a mistake, because you may notice this this kind of white line right there on his thumb. That's because when I tried to put that gun in his hand, his thumb broke off, and I had to glue it back in place. And as you can see, it's fine now that I've glued it back in place. Like, he never held his gun great to begin with, so it's fine that this particular gun is not being held super great, but it just bummed me out that like I got this set and suddenly it's like, oh, I broke his thumb, cool, and I can't get a replacement. Oh well, but it is fixable. Yeah, he looks good. He's a little kibbly, but like comes together well. The head looks very long haul, but very stylized in a way that I really appreciate. And this one I definitely went in on like the gunmetal weathering and the red visor. I really like that red on the silver with the weathered gunmetal. That's really neat. And I still love the way that this tucks away for the vehicle mode. That's just a fun little thing. But yeah, that's a nice looking long haul head. Now for the articulation, as you saw, it's on a ball joint, so you can look up and down pretty decently, side to side tilt a bit, and it can rotate 360 degrees. It's a little bit wiggly, which I don't know if it's because knockoff or because I've had this thing for a while, but it is what it is. The arms can go all the way around and can go out to just about 90. They kind of bang into these little soft railing pieces, and as you can see, this one's a little warped, but whatever. You get bicep rotation. You get 90 degrees of elbow bend. You can, well, you can rotate the forearm where it transforms, but you can also rotate the wrist separately, and then the fingers can open and close. I don't know why this is sticking. There we go. You get a waist rotation, though it is this piece is attached, so you kind of have to swing that down and give him a bit of a full diaper look if you want to rotate the waist, but you could still do it. I just prefer to have that up and out of the way. Now the hips, they, as you saw, they can move forward and back. They can move back. Jeez, this very, very tight ratchet, but you can move back that far, can move forward. That far, but you can also unplug this to get it out of the way and bring the hip forward to 90. It's just that now this flap is out of the way, and that kind of, it doesn't wreck the solidity of his pelvis section because it does hold together, but this is like an extra thing. This is like an extra thing holding it together, so just be aware of that. But you can move it out of the way. You get thigh rotation. You get... You should... Oh, I see what I did wrong. Okay, I screwed up part of the transformation. You actually... I'm going to undo all of this. You actually want this joint to be pushed forward. Because what happens is it goes into... There we go. It goes in like that. And then the wheel goes in, and then this comes around, and this rotates up, and this comes down, because that gives you the freedom you need to access the knee. And this joint is a little bit annoying, but whatever. But you get 90 degrees of knee bend, and you drop this gun, and the feet are on ball joints, so you get some side to side, lots of forward, rotation. So yeah, pretty posable for what he is. And put that back in his hand again. Just keeps falling out. Suddenly remembering this sci-fi original horror movie from like back in the early 2000s or like late 90s called Evolver. I don't know if anyone else knows that one. It's like a at-home live play robot thing that was like a game that you played with the robot, but then the robot took the game too seriously and started murdering people. Because sci-fi. Anyway, I don't know why I was suddenly thinking of that, but Hook. Hook also looks great. I love the way that it's designed so that the hook, the actual hook component, can come to the front, and it has multiple hinges, so you can like have it come down over his shoulder. And I don't know. I think it's cool that you've got options with this guy with how you want to do the hook, because you can also swing it around to his back if you want to just keep it on the back. But for me, that's less interesting. It works better as a kickstand, but it's less interesting. But I love that they built these joints into the set. And again, he looks really good. There is one assembly flaw with my hook compared to everything else here. And this was something I didn't realize until much later after getting the figure. But if you look at the shoulders, this shoulder is fine. This shoulder, actually, this piece is this piece. So instead of like this is mirroring this, this is the exact same as this. So this isn't mirrored, and that, aside from just looking a little bit off, is actually a problem for the combine mode. It ended up being bad enough that I had to modify long haul slightly, which I forgot to point out when I was looking at long haul. But if I bring long haul back, you can see right up here, there's thin tab, thick tab, and then this piece that's kind of looks like it's shaved off. That's because it is. Because there was another thin tab here that's supposed to plug in to this piece. But because this piece is wrong, it's not centered, and because it's not centered, this tab wasn't plugging in, which made going into the combine mode difficult. So I ended up having to shave this off completely so that I could make the proper Devastator torso. But other than that, it's been fine. There's just that one assembly error that I was kind of bummed out about, but it's fine. Like I fixed it, and it's a knockoff that I was already doing a bunch of customization to, so it's just like, fine, whatever. Anyway, the head, also, it's stylized, but it still looks like Hook. And again, I painted the eyes, which I think looks great. And I believe I did a little bit on the face, too. And then also, you've got all these stickers that I think help to enhance things further. And it's just, it's a cool figure. Not my favorite of the set. Hook never is. But it is still a cool figure. And I think this got slightly knocked out of place. There goes the gun. I'm going to try and plug this in. There we go. Now it's like plugged in, so that should be better. He says with absolutely no confidence whatsoever. So we'll just leave the flap like that for now and forget the gun. All right. So for the articulation, head is on a ball joint, and it does get some pretty decent side to side and up and down, and also can rotate 180 degrees. 360 degrees is what that is. Not 180. You get several hinges in the shoulders, but you pretty much just leaves the side that doesn't have the hook on it. You get outward like that, and then you can also use that joint to go back down if you want. And then you get the rotation. It's a little squeaky, but it does go around. So you've got that. This piece can go out and down and rotate also. You have a bicep rotation. You have a little over 90 degrees of elbow bend. The wrists do rotate. The fingers do open. The waist does rotate, and it is ratcheted. And unlike Scrapper, the hip skirts actually seem to be the right size and shape to functionally go around. They don't pop off. At least they don't pop off as readily as Scrappers do. Now, for the hips, the skirts do actually get out of the way, thankfully. And they can go forward to just about 90, back to, wow, that came off. I think that came off because of the, because of the waist rotation. That's what did it. But anyway, and go back that far and go out. I want to bring this down, but they can go out to 90. You just have to get these out of the way. And yeah, that's not that's not going to tuck any closer to the side of the leg, but there we go. You get thigh rotation. Get this somewhat centered. There is knee bend. Again, kind of have to get this out of the way, but there is knee bend that goes to a little bit past 90. I guess you can do that if you want to kind of cover up the knee. I don't know. This does get in the way. Let's see about bringing this around to the back, see if that makes any kind of difference. That does get in the way of the knee. All right. So yeah, these flaps, not the best, but whatever. And then for the feet, you get ankle tilts to the inside. You don't get any up and down motion, but you can rotate in and out because of that other hinge, and then the heel kind of rotates in a bit. So hook also has pretty decent articulation. I'll just leave you like that. And once again, he does not like to hold his gun. As none of them do. All right. Hook stand there. No, hook stand there. Eh. It's very difficult to keep all these guys on camera. Now, Scavenger. Yet again. Looks good with paint and stickers and everything. Happy with the custom work I did. The stickers add a little bit of a toy flair to them. I like the stylization that Generation Toy came up with. The only thing that bums me out about this guy really is the bucket on the back. I really wish that, or the scoop rather, I really wish that that could get like tuck away a little bit better. And it really doesn't. Like you can lower it, but this is as far down as it goes. So that sticks out way too far. Like this just will not go down any further, so pretty much just curl it up is the best solution I've been able to come up with. Anyway, the head is also pretty, it's stylized, but reads as Scavenger. And I love the painting and the metallic red. It just all comes together really well. For the articulation, the head nods side to side pretty well, looks up and down pretty well, or at least down pretty well, and can rotate. Once again, we have trigger-happy style shoulders that can go out. And on this this shoulder rather, it bangs into the head something fierce. You can unplug this if you want, and I even painted under there because that makes it look a little bit more symmetrical. I think maybe that was the point. Like they did that so that the shoulders would look slightly more symmetrical, but I don't care. I painted it because it was there, but I just keep that on. But yeah, this is as far out as the arm goes on that side. goes out a bit further on the other. So because of the nature of his design, he's not going to be going off to the side too far. But the arms do go all the way around. But again, because they're trigger-happy shoulders, you kind of can't have them go out like that. You have a bicep rotation. You have a over 90-degree bend at the elbow. You get wrist rotation. And fingers can open and close, just like the others. You have waist rotation. And upper body rotation if you really want. So, I mean, you could kind of do that for like a... I don't know. You could do it. The hips go forward to pretty much 90 and go back. We fold this out of the way to 90 and go out that far, so they don't go out super far. That is as far as it's going. You get thigh rotation. You get over 90 degrees of knee bend. Let's see if we rotate this to the side. Nope, that's still, it stops. So you're not going all the way back on that knee. And due to the nature of the feet, you can kind of slide the toes around, but you do get tilt for both the heel and the toe. So that acts as ankle tilt. You can rotate using that joint, and then you can also even move the toe up. Not down, but you can move it up. So yeah, pretty well posable again, because that's kind of what this set does. It's stylized and pretty posable. And now my favorite, Bonecrusher. Bonecrusher is always my favorite, I think, because he's just like, he's the one Constructicon I remember the most as a kid. Like, I actually had the figure and everything like that. Loved playing around with him. He was fun to mess with. I thought it was really, even back then, I thought it was really interesting how his, whatever you want to call it in the front, became his chest. Clearly that does not happen here, but one of the things I always liked about Bonecrusher in terms of like both the original G1 inspired design and what third parties do with them is how they really just kind of do interesting things with Bonecrusher's design most of the time. Like how in TFC, for TFC Hercules, or Neckbreaker was the original, was like the character's, the figure's name. The front, like part of that shovel, whatever, became his chest, but then the rest of it could either become feet or hip skirts, which was weird, but like you had options. And that is cool. And I like how it becomes it's still a really prominent feature on this design, but now it's on his shoulders rather than his chest. And I just think that's cool. And I think this figure looks really cool. Like the paint and the stickers really bring it all together. The silhouette on this guy is really fun. And even though these things, like, they kind of get in the way, but they also don't. You can work around them because they've got a lot of built-in joints. Now the head is, I don't know if this counts as a Bonecrusher head or not. It's definitely not G1 Bonecrusher, but I kind of feel like this isn't wrong for him either. Maybe I'm just used to third-party stuff, I don't know, but this looks like Bonecrusher to me. And again, I love the red on there. Now the articulation on the head is kind of, you don't get a whole lot of up and down. You don't really get any side to side, but he can rotate. So yeah, articulation on the head is not as good as it is on other figures in the set, but whatever. The arms can do a full 360, even with the big chunks of whatever that is on the shoulders. They can go out. And if you're worried about this getting in the way, you can just kind of, like, it really doesn't. Like, you have to go out pretty far for this to start getting kind of bent out of shape. So you're fine. This can just stay like that and you don't have to worry about anything. And it doesn't even get in the way of the head. And it also isn't trigger happy shoulders. So yay. You also get bicep rotation. And yes, this does get in the way kind of, but like you can also, because it's got so many joints and has like rotational points on it and stuff, it can kind of stay where it is while you rotate the bicep. So that's cool. And the elbow bends to 90. It's got multiple joints, but because of how everything comes together, you're just getting about 90 out of it. But again, like you kind of have to hold this in place, because if you don't, then this happens. But like if you hold this in place, you can bend that elbow without this being a problem, which I just think is cool. It's a cool design. It's a cool idea. And then the wrist does rotate as it does elsewhere, though you kind of want to hold this down because this can come undone. So you can rotate the wrist, you can open the fingers, and that is the arm articulation. For the upper body, you cannot rotate the upper body joints with this down here, but you can move it up. And if you move it up, then you can get that rotation if you want it. I prefer to leave it down here. I kind of wish this locked in place. It just sits, but it's fine. You do get a regular waist joint. The legs are exactly the same as Scavenger's. The only difference being this stuff that can kind of get in the way, kind of. So like it affects the outward motion not at all, because it actually stops there anyway, so it doesn't affect the outward motion. It only really affects the thigh swivel, because this crashes against the hip. But you can kind of like rotate it out of the way to get more of a thigh rotation. You can get it out of the way as you need it. And then everything else is the same. Same knee bend, same ankles, same hips. It's Scavenger's body, or Scavenger's lower body, I should say. But I really like this guy. This guy like was kind of the reason I got the set initially and again, and I don't regret that decision in the slightest. I really like this design for Bonecrusher. He is neat. And also, maybe you're supposed to do that, I don't know. You've got a lot of options with this guy. This is how I've been doing it, but like if you don't like that, you can do it another way. And also you can, if you want, hinge this so that it's forward. Yeah. Oh, that came undone. You can hinge this so that it's more forward if you want. I prefer back, because I think that's more accommodating for everything that's going to happen with this joint. But yeah, I really, really like this design for Bonecrusher. And this is a neat figure in its own right. Just, again, I wish this clipped in place or something. Because I keep grabbing him like that, and it keeps moving. But with all that out of the way, let us do our size comparisons, because these are, once again, big boys. So we'll bring in Dinobot, and Overprime, and Burnout, and Samus. So yeah, you can see these are some big fellas. And yes, they're knockoffs, but these are pretty decent quality knockoffs. I've never owned the Generation Toy Originals. I've been curious to, and I almost got them a couple of times when the sets were on sale. But it's also kind of like, I already have this set, and where would I keep it? One thing I do want to check. Grab Scrapper's gun. Okay, so Blast Effect doesn't really work on Scrapper's gun, but if you wedge it in there, it kind of works. Mixmasters, I do not believe works at all because there's no peg hole. Longhaul's gun, long haul's gun does not work. And I'm just going to assume that this doesn't work on the other three. And now let's do the combination. This is going to be such a long video when it's done, even after editing. Okay, first off, I'm going to change all these back into their vehicle modes off screen. Spent so much time filming and then transforming these things that I ended up having to feed the cats, so I got to wrap this up, but I still have combinations. So let's do that. I'm going to start with the legs and just kind of move up from there, I guess. So, for Scrapper, going to straighten out the bucket for now. Hold up the little ladders. Astrid, now is not a good time for you to jump up on my lap, honey. I'm sorry. Going to... let's see. I'm going to unplug the arms. And just kind of bring them out. Come on. There we go. Unplug those. Now, I'm going to rotate the arms 180 degrees. Rotate the ladders back around. So pretty much similar to going back to robot mode, but not quite. And now one big difference is going to bring the arms down like this, and then use, first we want to untap this. We want to use that weird little inward joint to bring this in. Okay, hi Astrid. And then this oddly shaped tab on the forearm will peg into this oddly shaped hole on the torso. And that plugs in there. And then this piece, you can... No, actually, you can't rotate it that way. You rotate it around this way, and then it just kind of sits like... Okay. And then just kind of sits like this. As for this piece, what I end up doing is I just kind of hinge it up like that to get it as out of the way as I can. Now, same thing on this arm. Just rotate this around, unpeg the ladder, rotate that around, peg that back in, rotate this down, untap this, bring this in and peg it in there, rotate this around and bring it down, get this shifted up and out of the way, and then, well, while we're here, we're going to move these flaps. That will come into play later. And finally for, well actually no, we want to take this piece, and this is tabbed in up here. So we want to unplug it from right there and bring that out. And with that out, now this can do the ankle tilt thing. But we also want to bring this up and in, and essentially we want to take these pegs here, they peg in these holes down here. And it works. It's a little bit kind of concerning, but like the way the gravity and everything works, it does actually, like this has held up over quite some time spent in combined mode, so there's, you don't need to worry too much about it. Anyway, this just kind of will sit like this for now, but we do want to remember to fold these little flaps out of the way. Now, I'm going to unpeg these so we can rotate this up, and this thing in the center actually splits and rotates up like this. And this comes back. No, it doesn't go up. It stays like this. I am being silly. So yeah, this stays like this. This comes up and goes in here. This comes around, and these pegs now peg in here. And these pegs peg in here. And that helps to make the leg. You can keep these all tabbed together. You don't have to do anything with the gun, so I'm just going to leave it like that. But if you wanted to, and this is a thing I've seen done before, you can untab just the front part of the foot and swing it up like this. And I think like this doesn't serve any mechanical purpose because those feet, the toes, are not in the way down here at all. I think all this does is clean things up a little bit from, when you're looking at it from the front. But anyway, this can just kind of sit like that. I'm going to bring this little pipe back. Then the roof of the cab section untabs and shifts down. You bring it forward like that. And that just kind of sits like that. I wish this folded in a little bit more in either direction, but it is what it is. So that will sit like that and become kind of a knee. And lastly, I'm pulling out a screwdriver for this. Just kind of get it into this joint here and use that to pry this up a bit because that joint is very solid. But going to leave it at this angle because we're going to need that for later. All right, that is one leg. Mixmaster now, and this is again a whole thing. So I'm going to untab this chest piece, which I should have done going into robot mode before. I'm going to untab these little side pieces and bring these up. And now these will swing the rest of the way around, and these little tabs will go into these slots on the sides of the forearms to kind of lock everything, not lock, but it'll keep everything in place in this configuration. Also, going to, before I forget, I'm going to just untap this real quick so that we can unplug this piece. Wiggle this out, there we go. And then peg this back in. And it actually will peg into the forearms too. Come on. Come on. There we go. And you too. There we go. That locks all that together. And this will come into play in a minute. Now, I'm going to, let's see. I'm going to separate this so that we can separate this temporarily. I'm going to also bring up the wheels. These can stay up, I believe, so I'm just going to leave them like that. If I'm wrong, I will fix it later. Bring these up, and now basically it's very similar to going into robot mode. So we're going to also get this piece to go up here, and now instead of unfurling this way, we're going to unfurl this way using a thing that may not have been obviously there. There's like this little tab here that sits in this little gray piece that if you untab that, it lets you swing this whole thing out. And also I'm gonna keep that down. So there we have that. And I've seen some people on, I think it's TFW, say that like you can use this as like a brace for the foot to make it just a little bit more strong for like going forward and back. I don't really think that's necessary for the KO. It seems to work just fine when it's in its regular configuration, so I'm just gonna leave it like this for now. As you can see, this kind of hits against this, and that keeps it from going too far forward. But anyway, I'm gonna do that. Also gonna fold this down because we have to bring this piece out and around. And then what happens is this piece comes back down and tabs in right here. And that helps to solidify this. And bring this piece out, and this will kind of sit in the center like this. And this leg, same deal. I'm going to unpeg this and bring it up. Astrid, hey, what are you doing? Stop that. Bring up the wheel. Bring this. No, wait. I'm going to untab this so that we can, well, bring this up so that we can untab this and bring it out. Bring this back down. Bring this. Untap this from the thigh and bring it out. And then bring this back around. And also bring this out. Tab this into the side. Flip out these pieces, and then bring all of this back together. Plug that in, P-tab that together. And this just kind of sits like this. And now the reason we took this off is because this will plug over this section here and act as like a heel. And to keep this from moving, these pieces tab into the side here. And this will kind of keep everything together. Though, as I'm looking at this, I don't think it's strictly necessary to have these. No, it is. Okay. Yeah, because this has to tab over those. And I don't think that'll work if these pieces are down where they originally are. Anyway, this came undone, so I'm going to tab that back in. So there we go. And this plugs in back here like it was for the vehicle mode. And that's, like, this doesn't really peg in anywhere, but it is what it is. And that is another leg. Only other thing we got to do is get that combiner peg into position. And again, just got to leverage it. There we go. So there we have two legs. Now I'm going to move to hook first, and then long haul. So get this out of the way. This entire center section unplugs and swings around, and this will peg together, but we've got to do a little bit more first. So let's see. Trying to remember how this goes. All right, okay. So this piece, you want to unpeg the gray piece, kind of bring that out. Going to unpeg or move these flaps, bring this up, and then untab these flaps for the canopy, cockpit, whatever section of the crane, and kind of you want to rotate this around and bring this up, and then rotate this the rest of the way around, which is a little tricky to do, but just rotate this around 180 degrees, and now this whole assembly rotates around 180 degrees. This now can peg together, and so this pegs together. This window here opens up, and this piece comes down and kind of tabs in here. And then this comes back down to keep that tab from coming undone. And this flips back, and this will peg in here, and this just kind of sits. This piece rotates around 180 degrees, comes down, and then these tab into the sides, and that gives you Devastator's head. And then this piece swings around and tabs in right here to take the place of the crane, because Devastator. Okay. Did I break off a tab? I did break off a tab. Uh-oh. Well, that sucks. Wonder what happened. Guess must have broken off when I was messing with this. That really sucks. I guess I'm going to have to tighten that joint so it doesn't do this all the time. I mean, you can't notice it, but yeah, that is 100% a broken tab. Well, poop. Anyway, also, actually want to get these flaps out of the way again because we have to get these joints out. And once again, kind of a pain. These aren't as bad as the knees, but takes a lot of doing. Come on. Yeah, come on. There we go. Then that can go back in. Then on this side, pull this out. Well, Finley is in rare form tonight. Bring this around. Okay. And that come down. And then this just folds down like that. And this really bums me out. I don't even see like a busted tab anywhere, so I'm wondering if it broke a long time ago and I never noticed. Oh well. While we're doing this, actually, we'll leave the chest piece off for now because I think it's going to be important to see underneath here. But for now, this will stay like this. Oh, one other thing we want to do. We want to take this little purple flap that was part of the chest piece and fold it in like that because we want that peg to be accessible. But yeah, there is the upper body. Now for the lower body, we're going to untab the engine and untab this flap, bring that back. Very similar to the start of going into robot mode. Now, I'm going to bring the arms out, bring these out just to get stuff out of the way, because we want to bring this down. And I'm going to rotate the arms out of the way just to get some clearance. So bring these down, bring this down, and that settles into place as you do. The back section opens up and gun goes off to the side. This folds, this little peg folds in, this folds in like this. Don't have to do anything there. This piece untabs, and that allows us to unplug the pelvis section, split it in half, and this comes out. And with this out, we take this center piece right here, pull out this gray piece and bring this around. And then this will swing in and peg in. These big pegs will go into these peg holes here. So just spread this out so you can peg this in, peg that in. And this comes back down, and now these tabs were in here for robot mode, and then these tabs will go in here for the combined mode to help lock that together. Now these pieces, you unfold the rest of the hip skirt. And now back here, the wheels fold in and they kind of tab in here into the thigh. It's not super solid, but it does hold in place. There's that. Want to take this piece and bring that down, which actually might be easier to do with the leg folded down a little bit. So I'm just going to fold this down so that I can get a better angle on this. Straighten that out. Then bring this up. Bring the wheel in. Tab it into the thigh. Rotate this around. Bring it up. And that is one thigh done. For this thigh, same deal. Just bring this out so that I can get a better angle on this really stiff ratchet. Bring this back up. Fold in the wheel and tab it in. Rotate this around. And there we go. Lower body, or pelvis done. Rotate this around 180 degrees. Now, I'm going to fold these down. No, don't fold these down. Keep these up. These, the arms will fold in, and the forearms will fold in. And what happens is there are these little holes on the forearm that'll peg over this piece here. And that will kind of lock this into place-ish. And the engine can just kind of sit back like that. Same thing here. Bring this in, tab it in, and the engine out of the way. You can take the wheels here and just angle them in like that. That's all you got to do there. And take the top section of the dump truck, angle it back. And now to combine, we'll combine. To combine hook and long haul, they kind of smush together. This tab goes in here, and then this stuff kind of goes in right around here. So just line that up and plug it in, line this up, and long haul's head went kind of wonky. Come on. You need to, there we go. That was kind of in the way. All right, so that pegs in there. This comes up and pegs in there. Oh, also missed the long haul thing. There are these little flaps in here you can fold out to just kind of bulk out the chest a little bit more. They don't lock in place, but they sit. And then you want to take this gray piece on the outside of Hook's arm, not the flap for the fist, not the whole thing, just the gray piece. That folds down and plugs in right here. And that adds a little bit more stability to the torso connection. And then for the final bit, you bring this back up and this pegs into the back of Hook. And that is what really kind of locks the torso together. So that keeps all that together. This thing, I swear I remember hearing that there was a place that this is intended to store in the combine mode. Like I thought it was in the pelvis. It's like there's this peg here, but like no. I do not know where this gun is supposed to go in the combine mode, so what I end up doing is I just peg it back here. Like I just do this just to get it out of the way. It is what it is. Actually, do it on this side, because then we can take this crane, move it down there to further get it out of the way for the combine mode. And there we've got all of this going on now. And then for the chest plate, I'm going to open all this up, pull this peg in, straighten this out, and slide it up. And that's it. And then this just pegs in where you would think. Like this pegs over this piece, and then there's other things that peg in around here. So it's just, it all kind of is self-explanatory. Like this oblong peg hole here goes over this piece here. So once you get the center plugged in, getting the wings tapped in is really easy. You just find the spots and they peg right in. So there is the chest. And let's get the legs on too, so this guy's at least standing. These just slide together, and there's actually a peg on the back of the connector here that will go into this peg hole on the back of the joint. So that slides in and pegs in, and then can more easily straighten out the knee because now the leverage is way better. There's one leg. I'm just going to grab Scrapper and finish this up quick. So this slides in as well and plugs in. I'm going to make sure that peg goes in and then straighten out the leg. And that's that. Now we've got most of a Devastator. We'll look at him in full in a minute. Okay. Now for these two. We'll do Bonecrusher first because his is the easiest. All you have to do is reach under here and pull out these joints. So just pull this out. That one's really solid. Okay. Pull this out. You want to take this joint and telescope it out, because what happens is the telescoping out is what gives you the proper bicep swivel. You don't want to use this upper joint because that will disconnect this from the back of the vehicle. So you want to keep this locked in and telescope this out to use for the bicep swivel. Then you can split this apart. Here we've got a fist. Bring that out and plug this back together. Unfurl the fingers, and there we've got a hand. And just rotate it so that it's angled properly. And you can also use the feet for Bonecrusher to kind of keep this from rocking back and forth too much. And really, that's all you got to do for Bonecrusher. I prefer to fold this in just to clean things up a little bit for the sake of the combine mode. But yeah, that's Bonecrusher. It's just bulldozer with a forearm attached. And the way that well, actually, I won't attach the arms yet because he'll be imbalanced if I have just one arm on. So Scavenger is a little more complicated. You want to untab this and swing this stuff out because we basically have to like partially detransform them. So untab these from the treads, bring all this out. Want to, I think we can kind of just leave this down for now because we want to actually rotate. No, we don't. We do not. Okay. No, we do. We do. Okay, I'm sorry. I want to rotate this around. I need to get this piece out of the way. I want to rotate this around. And then bring it back down, and these will now tab into the tops of the treads on this side. This swings back in, and once again, will sit in the same spot. And tap together. And now this swings around and comes in and kind of goes into, I like to feed it into this gap back here to kind of clean things up. So there we have that. This will extend if it hasn't already, and rotate it. And move these down into position to hopefully keep this from flopping too much. Again, split this open, fold out the fist, close it back up. And you do have these pieces here that you can parts form. Like you can kind of have to use the spudger for it, but if you unplug these pieces, you can plug them into the outside. You don't have to do it, but I do like the way it looks, so I'll just do that on this, then I'll do it on Bonecrusher in a second. But yeah, just move the missiles to the outside. There is no easier way to do it. And then close this back up, get the fist unfurled and all that. And then you can again take this joint, bring it out, and there we have another arm. All right. Let me take care of the Bonecrusher thing real quick. All right, now there are missiles on the outside of Bonecrusher's arm too. And now we can turn all of this into a proper combiner, and I need to really adjust this tripod. So again, one moment. And once again, I am standing for the rest of the video because this thing is big. So you've got the joint on hook right here, and the joint on, in this particular case, Scavenger right here, and these slide together. So this just slides in, and it just frictions in, but it holds in pretty well. It frictions in pretty solidly. And there is one arm in place. Just gonna bring that kind of up and back a little bit, kind of closer to the torso. There's one arm. And then same deal on Bonecrusher, just slide this into place. Come on, there we go. And whoa, okay. That did not go as planned. As you can tell, the joints are a little bit interesting in their tolerances. Like one joint is tighter than another. Getting things kind of close to the body is a little tricky if you want stuff to still be solid, but this is not a set that when it's combined I do a lot of posing with. But I don't really think this is necessarily the fault of JinBao. Like, I mean, definitely if the materials were better, this wouldn't be quite as you can see, floppy. But the original design wasn't perfect. Like, I like Generation Toy, but the original design for Gravity Builder definitely had some flaws. And I feel like I remember people saying that, like, for being a knockoff, even then, the JinBao Oversized figure actually improves on a few things. So that's something to consider. Anyway, here is JinBao's Gravity Builder, all put together and painted and stickered, and this thing is a sight to behold. Let's bring this back a little bit more. I don't know how well I'm going to be able to get the entire thing on camera. I'm going to try. That kind of works. Yeah, there is JinBao's Oversized Gravity Builder in its entirety, and this thing is not perfect, definitely imperfect, but I feel like it's still glorious. I think that's a safe claim to make. It is also, as I understand it at least, a lot bigger than the original Gravity Builder because, you know, oversized. But like, I really like how this came together with the paint and the stickers. It just is cool. And you don't really get new details in the combine mode aside from the combiner head and like the hands and the chest plate because that gets added on, but this is still really cool. This looks neat, and it is actually surprisingly clean. I'm going to attempt to turn this guy around. Oh, goodness. He is heavy. He is 6 robots basically stacked on top of each other, and like that up like it's a pipe. I don't know. But yeah, you can see even from the back, he is very clean. I really feel like there has to be something for this gun that I'm missing, but I tried looking up a bunch of videos that I could have sworn I remembered seeing people talk about storing that in the combine mode, and I could not find anything. I think it was a TFW thread where someone was talking about it, and they said that, like, oh, this is where you put the gun, but I couldn't find it, so I just don't know if I'm just imagining things or if it's real and I can't remember. But it is what it is. But this guy is super cool and a little bit wiggly, as you can see. Like, the hips kind of sway a little bit. The shoulder ratchets are not as strong as I'd like. Or rather, some of them are and some of them aren't. It's a little tricky, but like, for just standing there looking cool, he does that. He does that very well. Now, let's bring this in and look at that head. It is a very devastatory head. He has a shouting face that I just never bothered to use, and that's just kind of in my parts box in my closet. I did I think, yeah, I did the paint on the face. This bugs me, but whatever. Like I said, like a tab definitely broke off. I don't know what happened there, but whatever. But it looks good. There is a light that's in there. There are batteries and stuff, but I never put the batteries in because I just didn't want to risk the, battery corrosion over time. I honestly cannot remember if I painted the visor. I don't think I did. I think it comes in this color, but this color stands out even though it's supposed to be lit up, which I like. Now for the head articulation, it's on a ball joint, so you kind of get a little bit of side to side, some up and down, and it can rotate 360 degrees. Now comes the tricky part. The articulation on the rest of the body is going to be a lot trickier to show. So, let me get this cord out of the way. So you can utilize the double joints in the shoulder. Well, first off, they do rotate. And they can go all the way around. You can utilize the double joints in the two ratchets in the shoulder connection to go out. But like as I said, it's not super duper solid. It likes to pop down, and that's a little bit frustrating. With Bonecrusher, it's similar, except you're not going to get out as far because the crane arm is in the way, and also this whole thing. But can still go around, can still go out a bit. You get bicep rotation. The elbow bends to 90. You can go past 90 if the treads aren't in the way, but it will get in the way there. Is this still on camera? This is still on camera, okay. Oh, let's try and make this a little easier. The wrists do swivel. They kind of go up and down a bit, but not really. Also, if you wanted to, there's this door here that you can open up, and there are missiles that kind of angle. That's all they do, but you can use those. I never bother. And the fingers. The thumb has a ball joint at the base, so that can go in and out and rotate. And it also has a joint and another joint. And then all of the fingers are on ball joints, so they can swivel and splay a little bit. Bend in there, bend there, bend there. So, pretty expressive hands. The only thing that kind of stinks is the fingers are all the same length. That could have been better, but yeah, whatever. All right, now for the hard part. The legs. Well, first off, he does have waist rotation. He still has his waist rotation in this mode, though those wheels get in the way, so you kind of have to get them. Okay, maybe these should come up like that. I guess that kind of makes sense. I can kind of... Oh, I unplugged the back. I'll have to take care of that in a sec. Like, yeah, actually, I think having them up there works a little bit better. Gives him more of an hourglass figure. Anyway, let me plug this back in. So with the wheels out of the way, you get the full waist rotation, and his arm just fell down. So waist rotation abounds, if you do it right. For the legs. Okay, for the legs, the hip skirts can get out of the way. They're very floppy, but they can get out of the way. And the hips are long hauls hips. They are exceedingly tight going forward and backward, as you've seen many times now. But I'm going to try to move them. try. Whoop. Torso came partially undone. Or not torso, the tilt for the transformation. Oh, there it goes again. We get one more click out of those hips. There we go. Whoop, there goes the hip skirt. It just popped off. But yeah, that's about as far forward as you can get on the hips. You can go back. I really don't feel like struggling with this, but they can go back probably further. Pop this back on. I'm really hoping this is staying on camera because I do not want to have to do this again. You get thigh rotation. The knees are technically double jointed, so you can use long hauls rotation or long hauls joints for a couple of clicks, and you can use either hook or scrappers joint, and you can get pretty much 90, but then things are going to start crashing into each other. So you got knees. For the feet, you do get ankle tilts on both sides. You don't get forward and backward motion, but I think that's for the best, seeing as how this whole thing comes together. I'm just now realizing what the foot thing I missed is. Let's see if I can do that right now. Basically, I opened these flaps up and rotated the feet out, and now the feet kind of rest over that gas can, not gas can, but this silver piece here, and that keeps this from being able to go up any further. So it's a much more stable foot for the combined mode. Also, he has his gun, which has also been customized with stickers. Just going to flip down the handle and put that in his hand. There's 2 tabs on the handle on either side, and those plug into the inside of either palm, and the fingers curl around it. But yeah, this is a very cool figure that I'm really proud of how it turned out with the customizing and everything, but at the same time, he is finicky. I am not going to pretend he is not finicky, but he does look super cool. And I'm very glad to have him. I still think if I have the space ever at any point in the future, I'm going to do the individual robots rather than the combined mode for display. But you know, he's been in combined mode for well over a year now, standing on my shelf, and like I've moved him a few times, but like I haven't really disassembled him that often. So, you know, all that weight and everything, he still holds it up. You gotta pose him certain ways and like really pay attention to his center of gravity, but like you could see, while he is teetering a bit right now, he is pretty stable. Anyway, size-wise, he is gigantic. There is Tall Voyager Dinobot, Tall Deluxe equivalent Over Prime, Regular Deluxe Velocitron Burnout, and Samus. And Samus, yeah, he's very big. And again, he's made up of 6 rather big figures. But since we're talking about Devastator being large, let me bring in a couple other size comparisons, because why the heck not? I've got them, right? Let me use them. And this video's gone on so long, I just don't care anymore. So, get the regular size comparisons out of the way. And now, I'm going to move Devastator over here. And we're going to bring in our recent big guy, Titan class Tidal Wave, and he is smaller than Tidal Wave, so yeah, I think it's fair to say that the oversized JinBao Devastator is not Titan scale. I don't really know if scale applies here, but like he's not a Titan sized figure, or if he is a very small Titan, because Tidal Wave is already a small Titan, but that's how he stacks up with Tidal Wave. And then just because here is Scorponok, the bigger boy. Or I guess at this point he is technically the biggest boy in my collection. So there he is with Scorponok, and Scorponok is not quite in frame, so let's bring this up a little bit. There you go. So there's how it stacks up with Scorponok. And now I didn't mention this, I forgot to mention this in the tidal wave video, but this Scorponok does have the DNA upgrades, but he does not have the thigh extensions. So height-wise, this is regular Earthrise Scorponok height. He is not any taller than Earthrise Scorponok regularly is out of the box. Oh. His upgrades are more about like the Scorpion mode, and then like just a couple of extra bits. And one other comparison I want to do, since we're looking at combiners, I may as well grab this fellow, because we haven't seen him in a bit, and I do really like this set. Here he is with... Oh, he's so small. Here is the oversized JinBao Devastator with Legacy Menasor. Specifically, Legacy Menasor with DNA upgrades. So this guy is actually taller than Legacy Menasor is usually. It's also dustier than Legacy Menasor normally is. But there is that comparison. And for anyone curious how I got the shoulder cannon thing going here, basically I just have one of the Motormaster arms is mistransformed, and the gun is pegged into the fist going this way. So that holds the gun in place over the shoulder. And I think that actually looks pretty cool. It blocks his vision to one side entirely, but I still think that looks cool, and it gives me something to do with that stupid cannon, so I appreciate that. But anyway, that is that comparison, and I think that is it for comparisons, because I'm done. Oh, this is going to be close to like 3 hours of doing just this one video, and I don't think it's going to be 3 hours when I'm done editing, but oh geez. So yeah, there you go. There is the JinBao Oversized Devastator, or rather JinBao Oversized Gravity Builder. And this is, like, it's a cool set. I love how it's stylized. And this is all owing to, like, the original Gravity Builder set. I love how stylized it is. I enjoy how the different parts come together. I like how it's recognizable but still different in its aesthetics and design. It's, you know, this is a knockoff, so the quality is not quite as good as, say, the official thing, but I've never had the official thing, so I can't make a direct comparison. But I do like this set. It's I like this set quite a bit. I just wish I had the space to display them in their individual robot modes, because as cool as this is, I still think the individual robots are where it shines the most. But, you know, if you're looking for a Devastator and space isn't a big issue, I highly recommend this set, because it's like just a fraction, like a third, a fourth of the price of the Gravity Builder set. And it's bigger, but it's a lot cheaper. And it looks good with the repro labels, I think. But anyway, that is going to do it. I've said way more than enough about all of this. I can't believe I did this in one go. I must be out of my mind. But that is enough about what I think. What do you all think of either the Oversized JinBao set or the original Gravity Builder set? Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And I did have, at one point, the Oversized Feral Rex, the JinBao Oversized Feral Rex, and I was not impressed. I did not care for that set very much. It felt very cheap, and it just wasn't all that fun to mess with. This set is the kind of redemption arc of that, because same company, still JinBao, but it is so much better than their Feral Rex was. And I realize as I'm saying that, I should probably do a Feral Rex comparison. Because, for anyone who doesn't follow me on Instagram, which I don't have anymore anyway, I do... Yeah, get over there. I do actually have Feral Rex. The king himself. And he is way smaller than the Oversized Gravity Builder. But same design, or same original designers, I should say. So yeah, that is Feral Rex with an Oversized Gravity Builder, and this is one of the combiners I intend to eventually make a video on. I still have that and like 3 other combiner sets that I need to look at. Fortunately, this fellow's the biggest one, so I've gotten that out of the way at least, but he's not the most complex. So this is going to be fun. But fingers crossed my Marvel Comic Colors Grimlock arrives when it's supposedly going to tomorrow, and I can make a video on that instead. I guess we'll just see what the next one is.